Today is all about water bath canning. Hi, and welcome back to the Better Terra Kitchen. Today, we're going to talk about water bath canning. I have Greek peppers, okra, and some cucumbers that we're going to turn into pickles. The Greek peppers, we're going to use just a regular brine solution. The same thing for the okra, just a little more acid because they're a low acid vegetable. And the cucumbers, which I have on ice right now to help with the crispness. We're not so much going to focus on the process of making the pickle itself as we is talking about the canning process. In the very first episode that we did, I talked about preparing for canning season. And for the last few weeks, we've been in canning season here. So far, I've canned salsa with zucchini, peach mango salsa, and we get the peaches straight from Georgia in an orchard. That's where Mrs. Better Terra is originally from. So we visit and we bring back hundreds of pounds of peaches and then turn them into various things. So far this year we have peach mango salsa, regular salsa. And I have an example out here from last year of pickled okra. In here I've got a hot pepper, some garlic, mustard seed, dill seed. These are absolutely delicious. They're one of my favorite. This is the last jar from last year that I have. This is a Greek pepper that we grew from seed this year. This was our very first picking, and we've got a pretty good harvest. Now I've already gone through and trimmed off stems and rinsed these. And for the cucumbers, I've sliced those with the mandolin into sandwich stackers and chips. I like to soak those in ice water for a few hours. It helps with crispness. So what we're going to focus on next is building our brine, because that's important in water bath canning, is the level of acidity. And I have apple cider vinegar, regular white vinegar, salt, and sugar. This is optional, but I like this to make the perfect brine. And then with pickles, I have some of this pickle crisp. Put a very little bit of this in every jar, and it helps with the crispness. I also have white mustard seed and brown mustard seed, some dill, and I'm going to experiment. We love to do experiments here, and sometimes it turns out really great. So I'm going to do some okra with some oregano and some lime slices. Just seems like a flavor profile that would go together. And black peppercorns. These are great in almost everything. So I have a stock pot here, and in this pot I'm going to put, now we're going to need a lot of brine because I have probably 2 gallons of cucumbers in the garage fridge, plus maybe a half gallon of each of these here. So I'm going to start with 4 cups white vinegar, and 4 cups apple cider vinegar. You can use any combination of vinegar that you like, but the half and half for me is a good flavor profile when it comes to peppers and okra and even pickled chips. But that's completely up to you. Again, experiment. So we have a total of 8 cups. And then I go with a half a cup of pickling salt, canning salt, or what we have here, kosher salt. Any salt that's uniodized. And then I like a little sugar. Now this doesn't change the acidity, but it does change the sharpness of the taste. And for the 8 cups of vinegar, I go with just 1/4 cup of sugar. We'll put this on the stove and bring it up to temperature. We want to bring that up to a nice simmer. So now that we have our brine going, let's talk about our jars. So in the dishwasher here, I have a bunch of jars. And for me, I always do more jars than I'll ever need for the batch of pickling that I'm going to do. Because it's a terrible situation to be in where you don't have enough jars and you've got vegetables still to be packed in jars. So I do more jars than I need. So the dishwasher has finished. It's in the drying mode now, and I put it on the sanitize cycle. So these jars will be sanitized and nice and hot, just the way we want them. So once we pull the jars out, we'll put them out and we'll start packing them with our vegetable. Peppers, okra, or the cucumber. It's all the same. I add in all of the spices into the jars first, and then the vegetables. Then once the vegetables are packed in the jars, then we pour hot brine over the vegetables with a 1/2 inch of headspace. And then we add a lid. And these lids, I'm gonna get going in a pot of simmering water here in just a second. That makes sure that they're sanitized and the rubber gasket is nice and soft and marries to the jar perfectly. And then the rings. We don't have to do anything special to the rings. These just go onto the jar, finger tight before the water bath. Not any tighter. And then after the canning process is done, you can remove the ring, like on this one. It's still sealed. This was done last August. Still very viable. So I have the water bath out on the back deck. It's already coming up to temperature. We want that to be a nice rolling boil. In a big pot, that takes a little while, so I have it on a propane burner out back. So while we wait for the brine to come up to temperature, I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the cucumbers and get those rinsed. So I brought out the cucumbers that are in ice water, and I forgot to mention something about the brine. I added vinegar and I added salt, I added some sugar, but I forgot to add water. So whenever I have 8 cups of vinegar, I add another 4 cups of water, a 2/3, 1/3 ratio. So with my cucumbers, these are sliced into chips and sandwich snackers, and they've been in ice water now for about 4 hours. I'm just gonna go ahead and rinse those in a colander in the sink. So while we're still waiting for our brine to come to a simmer, let me talk about when to water bath and when not to water bath. And that is really dependent on the acidity of the vegetable. Vegetables that have a high acid, things like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, they have a high acidity level. So whenever you're pickling them and adding more acid with the vinegar, you can water bath those, and they're safe to preserve when canning for an extended amount of time. Vegetables that are low in acid that you cannot water bath alone, things like green beans and even okra, they have to be pressure canned, and that'll be a whole other episode. But since we're pickling our okra and we're gonna raise the acid level, we're gonna be safe here. With the peppers, the cucumbers, and the okra, once we get those in the jars, we'll process them in the water bath for 10 minutes each. In all the excitement of getting everything ready for filming, we almost forgot garlic. And if you're cooking without garlic, are you really cooking? So I peeled enough garlic to hopefully get 1 or 2 cloves into every jar. A great fresh garlic makes all the difference when you're canning delicious pickled vegetables. This is why we grow so much garlic here. I think this year we got nearly 200 heads of garlic. So our brine is almost coming to a simmer. And something that I insist on is tasting your brine. Because really, everything that you pickle with this brine is going to take on this flavor. It's vinegary. It still has a rather sharp taste. I'm going to add a little bit more sugar. Now with this, we're going to do the okra first. And we want the okra to be a little more acidic since it's a non-acidic vegetable. And then when it comes time to the peppers and the cucumbers, we're going to add a little water to take off some of the edge. So I'm reminded that trying to take a sip of brine, hot brine, is not necessarily the best method. But to kind of take it on the flat of your tongue. I think that's perfect now. Because with the brine is the flavor of all your herbs also. But if you've got a really sharp brine, your vegetable is going to come out with that sharp taste also. So you want it to be a nice balance between sharpness with a little bit of sweet. Okay, everything outside is ready. The brine is almost to a simmer. So I think it's okay to go ahead and pull out our jars and start packing them with our vegetables. I brought out my carrier and my heat-resistant gloves. These are a must. These were in the Preparing for Canning Season episode. These are fantastic. So I'll start bringing out jars. Be careful because they're going to be hot. And I like to work with about 6 at a time. And then close everything up. So I'm going to start with okra. And I want to do some with lime, some with some with oregano, some with lime and oregano. So this will be lime only, oregano only, lime and oregano. We'll make this one dill and oregano. And then we'll just do the normal dill without any experimental flavors. I think we've got a good combination there. Let's see. Let's do dill, oregano, and lime. Why not? We might even add some oregano to some peppers. Okay, so let's add a couple garlics to each. And remember, if you're going to use garlic, give it a little crush. That really opens it up. Everything is going to get garlic. And then we'll move on to our spices. So I do 1 teaspoon of each. So this is brown mustard seed. I'm gonna do a teaspoon each of regular mustard seed. Last year I ran out of mustard seed at one point and I used powdered mustard. Now it made not a very pretty product, but man, the taste was phenomenal. Here I'm adding in the black peppercorns. So that's it for the spices. Now the jars are still warm, which is what we're looking for. And we're gonna start packing in the okra. So I like to hold the jar at an angle and kind of stack them in cordwood style. And you want them to go in here nice and tight. And okra are easy because they've got a pointed end. And then some of the smaller bits will fill in there at the top. So that's what we're looking for. So I'm down to the last jar of okra, and it's not quite full of okra. So what do? Well, we're going to add just a couple of Greek peppers. Listen, there's nothing that says you have to play by the rules. Awesome. So we'll go ahead and we'll just put peppers in this one. This one's garlic, dill, peppercorn, and mustard, which is exactly what we planned to do for the peppers anyway. Perfect. So there's our first 6. We've got a magnet. We grab lids. Oh, missed a step. This is important too. One, we forgot to add brine. So, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Back to our measuring cup that we use to put the vinegar into the pot with. We'll dip out a portion of brine in my paper towel, and we'll fill. Till about a ½ inch from the top. Be extremely careful. Remember, this is scalding hot. Now, we clean our rims. This is to ensure that the lids get a proper seal. Now we can add the lids. I was 3 steps ahead of myself there a second ago. Then a towel, and then just finger tight on the rings. Then as we go, we'll set them in our carrier. And then after I finish the okra, I'm going to move on to the cucumbers and the peppers. It's exactly the same process when it comes to packing the jars. So the next time you'll see me will be after I have everything packed in the jars. Okay, here we are outside at the canner with the last batch going in. So with the heat-proof gloves, just sitting them down inside, spacing them out where they don't touch. So this is the last 8 pints. I've already done 16 pints. Once this process gets going, it really goes fast. All right, there's the 8th one. Everything spaced out so they don't touch. And we're gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, we'll be right back. 10 minutes has elapsed. Let's go ahead and remove the jars. Hasn't changed in appearance much. Stack them over here in the rack, and then we'll carry the rack inside and let these start cooling. Look at that, okra, beautiful. All right, we can turn off our gas. So that was all an afternoon's work. We have 24 pints of pickled vegetables. Dill pickle slices and stackers, along with okra with an experiment of lime and oregano, and then our Greek peppers. After these set for a few weeks, then they'll be ready to open and all of those flavors will be incorporated. I can't wait to try them out. Right now, these are all very hot. We just brought them in, and they'll start to decrease in temperature and the tops will begin to seal. Right now they're concaved up, and as they cool, it'll seal the top inward, and you'll hear a little pinging sound. I'm hoping maybe we'll hear one while we're talking here. Maybe no such luck. So we'll have all these pickled vegetables to go along with our salsa, and I can go ahead and finish off the okra from last year. It's one of those things that I save for a rainy day. We talked about water bath canning today and which vegetables that you can water bath. And that's vegetables that are high in acidity or vegetables that you're adding acidity to, like the okra. Okra is a low acidity vegetable, but we added acidity with the vinegar. We talked about how to sterilize your jars. I use the dishwasher. You can also sterilize jars in your water bath canner by boiling them for 10 minutes with nothing in them. We also talked about creating a brine that brings that acidity up, bringing that to a simmer, and pouring a hot brine over your raw vegetables. And then adding the lid and finger tight ring, and then putting those in the water bath for 10 minutes. Now, 10 minutes is what's prescribed for pickling most kinds of vegetables. Go ahead and check your own recipe of what it prescribes for the length of time to process in the water bath. The FDA has a great resource for home food preparation. I'll put a link in the comments below. In the next episode, we're gonna have a lot of green beans in our fall harvest, we hope. And green beans are something that you have to pressure can. So we'll bring out the pressure canner and we'll do an episode on the process of pressure canning. If you've enjoyed this episode, click that like button. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss our next episodes, be sure to subscribe. If you click the bell icon, then you'll get notifications whenever we put out something new. We just had a ping. That's what we were waiting for. It's one of the best sounds that home canning produces. Thanks for supporting our channel, and keep on working toward a better Terra, one pickled veggie at a time.